What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review for, excuse me, Love and Hip Hop Hollywood Season 6, Episode 14. So we pick up, we pick this episode up at the end of the skate party. Moniece is leaving. She's upset. April comes out there to talk to her, talking about, I just want to check and make sure you okay. That's got to be one of the most disingenuous. And like Moniece said, you really don't care about how I feel. You don't care about where I'm coming from. Like, you really don't care. I'm not tripping about y'all being in a relationship, but I am tripping about the fact that you weren't honest with me. At the end of the day, and, April was like, well, I don't owe the world an explanation. She was like, no, I ain't talking about the world. I'm talking about me. You lied to me. You told me, and I don't even, again, like she said, I knew something was going on, so that part I'm not even tripping about. But at the end of the day, I just want to be respected as a co-parent in this relationship. Then Fizz comes out, and Moniece starts to go left and starts calling her out her name, but then she comes back to the middle, and then Fizz is like, look, if it doesn't have to do with Cam, I don't want to talk to you. And that includes my relationships. That includes anything that doesn't start with Cam needs, Cam said, Cam wants. If that's not what it is, I don't want to hear. So then Moniece did start talking about Cam, and he kept cutting her off, and he kept kind of getting real short with her. And she was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. I'm trying to talk to you about Cam, and you being nasty. And then he ended up walking away from her. Now, at the end of the day, some people just can't co-parent. And I understand where Moniece is coming from the point of view of, you spent the last however many years basically telling the world that I'm an unfit mother, and that's just not true. And I'm no longer going to accept that and allow myself to be the villain. Like, I'm no longer going to just allow that to be the case. She ends up leaving, and that's when she did that infamous live that we saw where she was like, I wish them well, I just don't want to be disrespected. And then Tierra Marie, Jason Lee, they end up having a conversation. And Jason Lee even tells Moniece, look, I feel where you're coming from. I understand your issue. And she was like, now, hell has frozen over when Jason Lee got my back. When Jason Lee is defending me. She ends up going on his show. But then she went on the show and she was very messy. He apologized to her for the whole sex tape piece that happened a few seasons ago. She said, I can accept your apology, but I don't forget. And then she kind of got messy with the whole Drew, April situation. And I'm sure that was just her anger. That was her being frustrated. That was, all of that. She made mention about the fact that, she's not in a good place right now, that she's just not in a good space. She threw out there that April was pregnant, which of course they're denying. At this point, I think if April were pregnant, she would have a big old baby bump by now. That doesn't mean she don't have one. That just means I haven't seen it. Because hell, Princess went from 0 to 60 on us real quick, right? Later on in the episode, I'm going to breeze through this thing. I'm just going to breeze through it. Later on in the episode, Moniece is talking to Tierra Marie, and Moniece is actually saying that she's losing it. She's saying that she's just not in a good space mentally, and it scares her that she said she's dealing, because we know she deals with depression, and she said, when Cam is not home, it's just me in this house. She found out that Fizz and April ended up getting a house, not that big old house he took her to, honey, but they ended up getting a more reasonable abode, but it's literally a block away from where she lives. And she said, why y'all here? Like, why y'all this close to me? Why do y'all feel the need to be in my space? Like, just leave me alone. Like, why are you here? And so I believe Moniece ended up leaving the show, like, for real left the show. And I just hope that she is getting the help she needs, because we know that Moniece legit deals with mental illness. And again, it's not anything to joke with or play with. You guys know I just had somebody that I know, recently decide that there were other options that he wanted for his life and chose to end it. And so it's not anything to play with. It's not anything to take lightly. So, I just hope that her leaving the show, and I hope she got the help she needed. But she was very clear to say that she felt herself spiraling. She felt that she was just not in control. So we just went on and knocked them out the way. Now, Brittney B is, we see her, she's talking to another artist. They're in the studio. And basically this was a conversation about her wanting to get from behind the camera, behind the scenes to in front of the scenes. She has written hits for other people. She's, done other things for other people and made, she's made some good money. But her desire is to be in front of the microphone. Her desire is to be on stage. She sings, she raps, she writes her own music. And she said, I'm writing hits for other people. But she talked about how she's dealt with colorism in the industry and how she has been looked over for other artists who were light-skinned or who fit a certain, mold. And so she just spoke on that a little bit. And she was saying how she just had to learn how to love herself. She had to learn to love who she was, and that, at this point she's not going to allow that and basically what it is she's gotten a little traction in the industry now, and she can make some demands that she probably couldn't make before. And she's ready to be in front of the mic, and she's ready to do her own music. And so that's where she is now. Oh, excuse me. So that's where she is now, in her career. So there that's that. Oh, Lyrica and A1. First of all, Lyrica and A1 are having a play date with Ocean. A1 he got a violinist playing in the middle of the park. He done made a picnic. You trying to make this a date. This is not no play date. You having a play date with Ocean. Well, you didn't really need no toys. Ocean is like 3 months. Like, you don't even need no toys. But, and they have a conversation. And basically, Lyrica's like, look, and I'm afraid. Like, I'm just afraid that we're going to keep this cycle going. And I can't keep giving you my heart. I just can't keep doing it. And I'm just not ready to go full throttle. I want to take it slow. I want us to really work things out and go deeper than just on the surface. And he said, I've been by myself, and I've had time to be by myself, and I was tripping. And he was like, I was tripping. I was really out of pocket, and he said, I understand if you're not ready to move back in full time, but just come to the house. Like, I want my family back. I want you back in the house. And Lyrica lets him know she's just not sure. And then she goes through his phone, and he lets her go through his phone, both phones. And she made a good point. She went straight to his DMs, and the first thing she saw was, half-naked women dance. And he said, look, I was contacting them for a video, which is probably legit. He probably was very much because, that's where they find video people now, on the gram. She said, but you know what? You need an assistant. You need an assistant that can do those things, because I'm not comfortable with you talking to women on Instagram anymore. And I said, you know what? That is not an unreasonable demand, and it makes sense. I understand where A1 is coming from, and I actually believe him this time. I usually don't believe A1. He usually lying. But I believe what he was saying this time, because he had to know that he on thin ice, and he had to know. He may not have known that Lyrica was going through his phone in that exact moment, but he had to know it was coming. And so I believe that anything he's doing is on the up and up. At least on the phone, he gonna let her know he have. You know what I'm saying? But I believe what she was saying. But what she said makes sense. Like, look, you make enough money that you can have an assistant that can handle all of this stuff. You don't even need to get into it no more. So she tells him that she has a showcase coming up, or a show coming up. She's gonna do the pre-ESPYs party, and so she's excited about that. And he's agreed to come and kind of help her get ready for the gig or whatever. So we see her go shopping with her mom. And her mom is being a mom. Her mother is like, look, how many times are you going to let this man break your heart? Like, how many times, when is enough enough? When are you going to say, hey, I can't do this anymore? And she said, but I love him. She was like, okay, and? Love is what? And she went on to basically, she said, look, I don't like it, but I told Lyrica, when you make this decision, make sure you mean it. Because you can't just keep playing these games, moving out, moving in, moving out. If you ready to leave, be ready to leave. And of course, Lyrica ain't ready to go nowhere, honey. But, Lyrica G said she not feeling A1. She said, I haven't had a chance to say my piece now. I don't feel like that's your business. I get it that that's your daughter and maybe she brought you into it, but it's not. All you can do is pray and support. You can't make her make a decision she's not ready to make. You can't make her do something different than what she's ready to do. Then we see Zell, and he got a little boo thing, and she's a woman. And, he's been telling us all season that he's ready to be with the woman. He said he's bisexual, and he explained he's on a double date with Mickey Monday and Slick. And he explained, he said, when I came out to my mom and my aunts, he probably was raised by women. He said, when I came out to them and I told them I was bisexual, they told me, nope, there's no such thing. You got to choose one. He said, so I chose the newest thing, which was men, and that's what I did. He said, but I do desire women as well. And at this point in my life, I'm ready to settle down with a woman. I want a family, and this is what I want to do. And, they had an open conversation about it. Slick also, I don't think she necessarily identifies as bisexual, but she says she just does whatever feels good to her, and she's been with women, and it's been whatever. And of course Mickey Monday made the same ignorant statements that men make when it's a woman. I mean, you like women and I like women, let's just have a good old threesome. That's just not how this works. Anyway, of course they recapped the party or whatever, and Zell was like, I just want April and Fizz to be truthful and live in their truth and just be happy, and I just didn't like the fact that they were lying to us and wasn't keeping it 100 with everybody. But, I'm happy for them now, and I hope they, they work out, blah, blah, blah. Then we go down to the studio with YoYo. YoYo's in the studio, and she's being very honest. She said, look, I haven't made music in however many years, and I know I got something to say. I just don't know if anybody wants to hear it. And I think for any artist that's been away for a long time, I think that is valid. Somebody like myself, I'm going to buy it because it's YoYo and I love YoYo. But like we saw a couple of weeks ago with Lil' Kim, I think she only sold 100,000 copies in her first week. Everybody been talking about Lil' Kim, Lil' Kim, Lil' Kim. And then when she come out with a project, nobody bought it, right? So she's basically just talking about that, and she's following up with Apple about what happened with the meeting with the guy. And she said, I really felt bad about it. She said, I've been checking your social media, and I just want to make sure that you're good with everything. And Apple was cool. She said, when it's God's time, it's God's time, and it wasn't my time, and what's for me is for me, basically, she said. And so I felt like that was very mature of Apple, but she still doesn't get it. She still doesn't feel like what she does on her social media should affect her business. And I'm just like, boo, in this day of social media, everything you do publicly affects your business. Like, once upon a time when people didn't put their whole life online, yeah, you could go get drunk and make little comments and say little crazy stuff, but nobody else but the people around you knew you were doing it or saying it. Now you put it online, and you got hundreds of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of people times 3 are going to see that. And anybody investing in business, that depending on their brand, they do care about that. Now, if they want you to do some malt liquor ads, you might find your niche. Get some malt liquor ads, but certain people with certain brands, that's just not what they're trying to do. And, once again, Apple doesn't understand it, because she's like, well, I mean, I'm just, saying what I feel. I'm just talking. No, you're drunk and you're rambling and you're cussing people out. There's a difference. You getting online making some controversial statements is one thing. You being drunk, laying in your bed, rambling and cussing people out, that is a totally different conversation. And it's not the same thing. But everybody seemed to kind of be in a good mode about it, and Brittney was with them. Brittney B was with them, and Brittney B was even kind of saying the same thing to Apple too. Like, she understood too when Apple told her about what happened. She understood what it was too. But when it was all over, said and done, the 3 of them went in the studio, honey, and who knows what they did. We very seldom get to hear any of these songs that they making in these when they go in the studio. So who knows what whether we'll ever hear it or not. But I'm sure they had a good time, you know. And Brittney B was like, this is like a dream come true. Like, I am shaking. Like, YoYo is a legend. And for me to be able to go in the studio with her is like, oh my gosh, like I could never imagine. And that's probably, I would fan out too if I ever met like YoYo. I would definitely fan out. So we go down to sound check for Lyrica's event, and they're messing up her sound, and A1 is losing his mind. I mean, he is cussing people out, he's talking crazy to people, and just at that moment, Lyrica G comes walking in, and Lyrica G is like, well, first of all, how come every time I walk in around y'all it's some drama? Second of all, what he doing here? Third of all, why is he talking to people like that? Like, that's not how you talk to people. You're not rude and disrespectful to people. You treat people the way you want people to treat you. That's not going to give you, and it's not a good look. You know, once again, we're talking about a reputation and what people will say about you. Like, that's not a good look. And so she's talking to Lyrica, basically like, what is he doing here? Why is he here? And of course, y'all know what Lyrica does. When she starts getting frustrated, she starts shutting down. I can't do this. I just can't do this. I just can't do this. And A1 tries to go over and talk to Lyrica G, and she won't hug him, honey. And he was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. She was like, what? What you talking about? She said, look, that's my daughter. If I don't want to hug up on you and forgive you, I don't have to forgive you. I don't like what you did, and I don't like how you treat my daughter. And she let it be known how she felt, that she ain't crazy about what's going on. But again, I think her thing is, but you grown and you're going to do what you do, and it is what it is. He eventually did go over and apologize to the sound guy. And, they finished up sound check and everything, but it's still very tense, because she even sort of went off on him when he was getting into it with her mom. She went off on him and started cussing him out and calling him all kinds of cheaters and assholes and stuff like that. So they got a long way to go before they get back to, I feel like, before they get back to a good place. But okay. Fizz and April moving together. I don't care about the rest of it. I don't care. They talk about Moniece going on Hollywood Unlocked. She said Moniece must still be in love with you. Okay, whatever. I don't think Moniece is still in love with Fizz, but I do think that Moniece got her foot on Fizz's neck and ain't gonna come up off of it. I do believe that. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.